So what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. And in this video, we are going to be talking about the Bitcoin ETFs. And there is obviously a lot going on with the Bitcoin ETFs. But in this video, I want to break down some parallels that we could see happen, that we could see play out, that are similar to what happened when gold was basically approved in an ETF form. Because we could potentially see up to $30 billion of fresh cash right out of the gate when a Bitcoin ETF is approved. And we're going to break that down, why this is, and talk about if history will repeat itself. Will this play out similar to how it did with gold in the United States? Not to mention, we're going to talk about even more related to this ETF, what it's going to be in terms of its impact a little bit further down the line, and why the institutions are very excited about this as well, and why so many people are going to now have exposure to Bitcoin in a way that they feel as if it's a lot safer. And by the way, guys, the Bitcoin ETF could be approved as soon as today. We're hearing that they're finalizing meetings. If not today, they could be wrapping things up and we could hear something Monday or Tuesday. Remember, our deadline is January 10th at this point. That's the deadline that we're watching for right now very, very closely. So a lot to get to, obviously, in this video. Go ahead and hit that like button for us and consider subscribing to the channel if you like daily cryptocurrency content and you want to get constant value here on the channel about investing. And with that being said, let's jump in and start right into this main article that I have for you. And this is all about the spot Bitcoin ETF in the case of funds and if they're able to buy up all the Bitcoin in circulation. So there's been a lot said about just how much Bitcoin that, various funds would have to acquire here, or actually could acquire. So it says here, a company or a government might attempt to buy a significant amount of Bitcoin, but it would likely get tricky pretty fast as the price will only continue to rise. So this is why many believe that many of the funds have been buying Bitcoin leading up to this point, right? Buying from 16,000 onward, especially around that 20 to 25,000 range. It says here, the long-awaited potential approval of a spot Bitcoin ETF in the United States could mean the markets see Bitcoin supply suddenly drop as funds snap up as much as they can. And this is what I was mentioning last night in our live stream. This is going to be a demand and supply shock unlike anything we've ever seen. With prominent firms like Ernst & Young expecting US SEC approval to trigger massive demand for institutions, will the financial giants behind these ETFs leave any actual Bitcoin on the market for the rest of us? I will say this, I've got a good friend of mine who works at Ernst & Young, and he told me that the pent-up demand is absolutely insane for Bitcoin, and he's hearing it from institutional clients. He himself has recently bought into Bitcoin because of this, right? So not only are you seeing this happen with institutional investors, but you're going to see the trickle-down effect as people learn what institutional investors are doing, and they're going to basically copy that, right? A US-based Bitcoin ETF could bring up to 30 billion of fresh cash into Bitcoin. This is coming from Lark Davis, estimated in September of 2023. In such a scenario, spot Bitcoin ETF issuers would be buying up about 50% of all Bitcoin on crypto exchanges to back their ETFs. This is just a projection, but it's not a bad scenario, right? Estimates are that a spot Bitcoin ETF would bring 20 to 30 billion of fresh cash into Bitcoin. That would buy about half of all the coins on exchanges at current prices. We were a little bit cheaper back then. For reference, here's what happened to gold when it got its first ETF approval on US markets. As you guys can see, here's what it did. This is a snapshot of what happened. It went up 363% very quickly. And this is where it got approved. Slowly but surely, it made just huge gains over the next 6 to 7 years. And by the way, gold was great, but I think Bitcoin's going to be even bigger considering where Bitcoin is today. It's global. It has the interest of retail and institutions. But the big thing here is it's global and it's being used as legal tender already. It's much bigger than gold. Not only is gold just a standard for the United States, Bitcoin could be a standard for everyone. Buying Bitcoin as much Bitcoin, but buying as much Bitcoin as possible would likely get tricky for anyone. So here's an interesting quote. It says, theoretically, a company or government could attempt to buy a significant amount of Bitcoin, but acquiring all Bitcoin in circulation is highly impractical, and we still have a significant unreleased supply of Bitcoin, which will happen. Bitcoin supply is capped at 21 million, from which 1.4 million BTC are yet to be mined, which obviously that will be playing out in the next few decades. Now, I want to take you inside some other things as well. This news story says SEC will approve the spot Bitcoin ETF to maintain regulatory control over crypto industry. I certainly think there's a lot of merit to this. And I think this is a good point because I don't think the SEC and Gary Gensler are necessarily ready to approve the spot Bitcoin ETF. I think if they could kick the can down the road a little bit further, they probably would. However, they also understand what's at stake here, the pent-up demand that has already been created, and they know that they need to be in control. And before this thing gets close to the Bitcoin halving, where they know and we know Bitcoin's prices will go up, they want to have their position as a powerful one, right? And so I agree with this headline 100%. Here's another one for you. We covered this a little bit yesterday. Grayscale is in talks with JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs for Bitcoin ETF role. Interestingly enough, we already know that JP Morgan is going to be an authorized participant on BlackRock's ETF. Now, Grayscale is also in talks with JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs. Pretty crazy. And if we scroll on down right here, an earlier media report suggests Goldman Sachs is in discussion with BlackRock as well to act as an AP for its ETF. BlackRock previously amended its S1 filing to name quantitative trading firm Jane Street and JP Morgan already as authorized participants in its proposed ETF. So regardless of what Jamie Dimon and what JP Morgan says about Bitcoin and how it's, not going anywhere and it's a scam, they're an authorized participant on this proposed ETF. That's all you need to know. Okay? The big players are here, folks. And this means get ready for massive gains over the next 12 to 24 months. This is what it means. Okay. And we'll see what happens with Grayscale in this capacity as well. Many people across the internet super excited. We've got multiple reports saying that ETFs could be approved as early as today across the board. And just a ton of people tweeting about this across the board. Lark Davis had another interesting take here. Bitcoin reached 69K without a USA BTC ETF, without every institutional sales team pushing it to their clients, without a Hong Kong ETF, without fair accounting rules, without the dozens of major banking on-ramps added in 2023. No one is bullish enough. And I think that's a really great point. But we are going to be watching price action. We can see here, we had a green candle already here. This is the weekly chart, guys. We've been watching the weekly. This is the last 5 weeks. We have been basically trending sideways. We're back just near 44,000. But I like this zoomed out view of Bitcoin just to kind of show you from this bottom right here what we've done since this time last year, coming from less than 17K to where we are today. Unbelievable returns. And I think we're just beginning here to see what's in our future for Bitcoin. So make sure you guys stay locked in by subscribing down below and hit that notification bell. Put all notifications on so you don't miss out on anything. I appreciate you guys. We'll see you in the next video. Take care.